Yeah, London, they're going to have Zero, they're going to have Afro, but the player that I'm looking forward to seeing is going to be Harry, but I'm also looking forward to seeing the likes of Bryce and 10, the two that are going to be commentating this game today. Fellas, I miss you. How come Beans on Toast boys doing today?
The beans on toast is always great. We can never complain about the beans on toast. Honestly, we need a London event just so Veli we can take him to some London restaurants and just dispel this myth of bad British food, Brycey, because you know what? I'm not going to stand for it anymore. I'm not going to stand for it.
I'm just going to hold him down and force feed him beans on toast until he apologizes.
I think we should do that.
Slightly different method for both of us, but no, interesting game coming up for this one. Two teams with, let's say, slightly complicated history coming into this, because it's difficult to benchmark exactly where we would put them. As we look through these maps here, Kavoodoo, Berlin, Tuscan, and Desert Siege, people are wondering, are London going to stabilize? And have we already seen the best of Boston? That's one of the key things I think people aren't talking about with Boston at the moment. We talked about them as a team ascendance, and I feel like that thread of conversation has died off a little bit, Ton.
They've slowed down, haven't they? They seem to be on that ascendance, but maybe they've found their spot, so to speak, which is kind of in the top 8. But where is that exactly is hard to judge. And for London, touching on them as well, I would say that we haven't quite seen their final form with Harry yet. It is taking them some time, specifically in hard points. Haven't won a hard point so far in stage 3. They're 0-6 in the last 6 games they have played, so they need to step it up here against Boston. When it does come down to Gav, though, I think they have a good chance here up against the Boston side to get something done. The whole percentage is there for London. The breaks are there for London. The stats tell the story. But we're going to see some good games out of Harry. He had a good week to kick things off last week. And if he can keep that up, then they will be looking solid. But let's see how they do. Both these teams in need of some hard point consistency, I would say, Brycey. And it's a good way to start here in map number 1.
Yeah, have to see how they get to it. This one is Afro constantly diving straight in as we expect him to do so. And then one large come through and oh my goodness. Well, that's the way you want to start off your hard point, Ton.
Yeah, kick it off with 3 kills in a row is never a bad thing to help London secure some time over towards P1. When it comes down to rotations, it's really towards P1 that London are getting a lot of their time. An average of 34 points on P1, which is 20 above the average that most teams are scoring on this hill. So it's a big money hill for London, but are they counting on it too much? That's my query. Let's see how they do here to kick things off. Obviously, when it comes down to rotations, you don't really count the first one, but nonetheless, keep an eye on that as things go on.
Yeah, so much to kind of break down with this game as well. For me, I always kind of fancy Boston Breach on this map. Methodz is usually the man to keep an eye out for them. See if London can do the business, though, against them. At the moment, though, rotation will go to the hand of the Ravens. And they're looking to get that lead back, Ton.
Good rotation over by Boston Breach, but London managed to find that break. Afro has been an absolute pain all the way through. Sitting at 6-1 so far. Make that 7-1. I don't think anybody has even come close to them so far for the side of Boston Breach. And Harry seems to be settling into this team a little bit. I was querying last week whether or not Afro and himself, it comes down to the speed that they both play. Is it going to suit each other? Both of them are the top leaders in kill to death ratio for the London side. So obviously it's working. Let's see if they can continue to work on that. Hard point, of course, was not great for them last week. So far, so good, though. London Royal Ravens, specifically Afro, frying at the moment.
Yeah, you can't really do an awful lot with a player playing like Afro currently is. And now you can see the Ravens are going to be looking to try and flip into this next spawn. A little bit difficult for them. Huge Boston Breach setup. They have to break through. And they aren't going to win any of the gunfights. Unfortunately, Zero and Nasty go down to TJ. And Methodz tries to get across to the point. But Harry holding them off.
And that could be a huge shutdown. Boston picking up a lot of their points over towards P3. 76% of the time they're winning this rotation and getting a decent amount of points, and well, it'll help when things like that are happening from Nero. Really good shots going to come through. Let's see if they can get P1 control and continue force the issue for this next hill that's coming up in 45 seconds.
He's going to try and sneak around, and unfortunately has hit nothing there. And now just hold for this. You can see he was trying to get that pinch down into P1. TJ watching the close spawn as well. He's going to be able to hold it here and the now. The question for London is, do we go and try and make something of this, try and get them off the point, or just basically farm them until we rotate? You can already see members of the Ravens are setting up.
Much better here from Boston. I was about to say that, and they have been broken. Nero can get the pick onto Zero, should be pitched, and he will get shot from the side, and Zero will clean things up. Now it's about this rotation over towards P4. Boat control is there. TJ's only the really one close for the side of Boston. I like how London have forced the issue continuously over towards P3. They know where they're sitting. They should still get spawns. Maybe not. You've overextended. There you go. Boston. Free rotation over towards P4. That is a fumble from London if they can't get there quickly.
If they don't shut this down, it is going to be all
That's
about
poor.
Boston. And I said, are they going to take the risk? 26 seconds left to go. They went for the scrap time. And that may cost them here, but here comes the push. Numbers here for the Ravens. Boston going to try and hold them off as well, but they just don't find the players as Methodz picked up 2. And now the Ravens are in the spawn trap. They flip the spawns back here, but this is horrible to get out of. If you can't get in a good position as TJ just goes to work, looking for 2, trying to find a 3rd. Nero says, all right, I'll have them then. A little bit of scraps for me.
If Jay Stud was in here, happy birthday to my guy, by the way. He'd be saying, what are you doing? Except obviously in his accent and not mine. What are London playing at? What on earth is that rotation from P3? Yes, okay, I don't mind getting aggressive up towards it and fighting for that scrap and keeping map control and making Boston have to fight through everything. But at least have somebody back in the point. There was about 5-6 seconds going in the hill and Boston have got a free spawn. That is a huge fundle from London. The coaches will be looking at and saying to themselves, right, we need to make sure that never happens again throughout the rest of Vanguard, because that was 3 points for London. That's a poor showing from them. Expect better.
Yeah, and now with it all being pretty much even between these 2 teams, you can see the fight that's going on around this next hill. Boston and London are both trying to reinforce with the players, but neither really getting an awful lot of time until they get this set up. That's so important, and Afro is going to try and break through. Not going to be able to, though. Harry looking for Capsidal, but Capsidal's sitting pretty. And now it's Boston in the lead. We go back once again to P1, and London have an opportunity to strike here, all sitting on the shoulders of Afro.
Yeah, it's worked wonderfully for the side of Boston, has to be said. They did a great job at scrapping away. Sometimes you can get caught back towards P4. They got a lot of points, and then they made that rotation over towards P5 very well. London, though, as mentioned, P1 seems to be their favorite hill. Yeah, I'm going to get this rotation over here as well. Can they lock down some decent time? I think the problem for them after that first rotation is that rotation towards P4. I won't go on about it too much, but that's one of those things you can't let happen, Brycey.
We'll see how that plays out for this series. Still an awful lot to play for, of course. Boston and London just a striking distance over each other. TJ going to be landing the point here. He knows players are coming for him, and eventually will pick it up. 34 seconds left on a P1. Boston happy to try and get as many points from this as possible. London still going to be looking to break before they move with the boat, even though Nasty's already there.
Important kills coming in from the mid-map as well. That should help secure this 20 seconds of scrap time, because they have to concentrate on Nasty with the movement over towards P2. He's done fantastically well to lock down Green. Can he keep it up here? He's got a few Boston Breach players coming his way. One of them failed, and Nasty now has support. In that rotation towards P2, London had that because of Nasty's positioning over towards Green, but you need to win your gunfights as well.
Now looking for this player pose. It's going to be Methodz as well, and that is an absolute dagger. As you can see, London set up and happy here on the boat. Boston going to try and find a way through. Capsidal may be the catalyst, but no, Harry guns him straight down. Methodz gets him back with a grenade. And now it's going to get a little bit mixy as it looks like Boston are moving forward. I'll tell you something, Nero is there time and time again when they need him.
Yeah, he did a great job. It was P1 control that he went for, and from there he's able to cut them down inside the point and then push out the spawns. Really well played from Nero. It is going to be 30 seconds left here on P2. Rotation over towards P3 was Boston's last time. Can they do it again?
Well, with London currently leading, let's find out how the squad is getting on with listening.
Captain's in the old. Captain's in the old.
I got one on the top.
Nice, we can pressure that.
Okay, okay.
Pressure that.
Listen, I think it's how we have on the rope. Just get to me with me.
Yeah, get time. What do I need to get?
I got
name. No, come in. Red tank.
Pitch P1 straight away.
P1 already. I think he's seen you go low. I think you missed it.
Nero. He went low.
Low. I'm missing Methodz still. Low, weak.
I'm getting through, guys. I'm getting through. Give me a second. Can you give me a second? I'm pinching. Have me cut. I'll pinch deep. Give me a second, please.
Cap dead.
Close dead.
Me cut, Nero weak. Me cut.
Nero.
Weapon's dead.
I got it.
Guys, they should be spawning out.
Get
to me. Make sure we get this 20, okay? Make sure we get this 20.
Yeah.
They're missing all their nades. Just get out of the door.
You're not up here.
Close.
I'm wrapping back, I'm wrapping back.
It's hard,
absolute. They're the back. Weak, really weak. Methodz. Just do that.
Well, London trying to get that small talk going. Where are we watching? Who are we missing? Pretty good comms there, actually, in the end, and you can see them trying to figure out exactly what Boston are doing. One of the benefits for them is not only great time there on P3, but they held this down for P4. They were ready for the setup as well, and now Boston have got a hard breach.
They can try and find a way through. They sent Zero back here. They were not taking any risks on this P4 rotation this time with the London Royal Ravens. Zero on a force break, gonna keep it going. The reload comes through just as TJ goes for the challenge. He will find it, as will Nero. You need to win your gunfights if you're London. And now they're in the back spawns, but Harry's went huge. He's gonna find two and relieve some of that pressure. It's only Capsidal here finding the points for his team. London could go for the break here. There was a couple of kills found by Harry. A bit slow to the beat here if they can try and get in yet.
Never seen more things in a player than just against Capsidal, but somehow doesn't care. Hits two as well, and eventually will go down. London regain the point. And they are so far in the lead and so close that it's also crucial 250 points. Boston are going to be scrambling. They're trying to hold in London here. Even a full 60 barely gets them back in range.
Oh, the bad timing. Zero just about creeps around the side of the tank, and all of a sudden he's got the spawn towards the back. Are his team going to spawn here with him? I'm not too sure about that, but Zero, a thorn in their side now. Look how many arrows are already looking around for him. Now that allows the London Royal Ravens, because they have the time, because they have the lack of pressure, they can push up to boat, and now in a good spot to try and retake here. Still gonna win your gunfights, gotta get rid of TJ and co. They're in a good spot, but capping the point. Ooh. He's who you have to deal with, but my goodness, TJ. Fantastic in the middle of the map, and London Royal Ravens is gonna be a tough break, yeah.
Yeah, they're still hunting him down. However, all the kills go to London. Every single kill they need, they get in the end. It's only going to be Capsidal sitting cages, and he goes down as well. And Boston basically now have to run and try to break through London, who are squeezing and applying so much pressure against them. Nasty backing up, knowing you should have the benefit in any gunfight. And Ravens again, it's an outslay, an outplay. The Ravens take map number 1 here on the hard point. And if I'm going to be honest, towards the end, they never really looked like they were in a bad position. One bad rotation, obviously, Ton, you weren't happy with, but for the rest of the time, they seem to be more dominant.
Yeah, no complaints throughout the rest of it. I think it's just one of those where you can't let that happen on that hill specifically. It is the hill where a lot of teams get most of their time. Nonetheless, London, very strong throughout the rest of it. Our P1 rotation and the second rotation of hills was great. They denied a lot over towards P3 when Boston do concentrate a lot of their time on that one. And P2 as well. Honestly, the rotational battle was just so solid for London. You can see that they've definitely worked on the game. It's a long time ago that we said London with a team that were not rotating whatsoever, but we're finding those breaks. Now they're still pretty decent at breaking, but those rotations are definitely there. And that is London's first win in 7 maps on hardpoint. Couldn't come in a better time than a team like Boston, who we know are strong in the other game modes. Looking towards it, I think the difference there for me, it's these little rotational gunfights. It's not so much about these long sight angles that we do quite often see. Afro and Capsidal, it's a very, very varying scoreline from those two players. 13-25, I think it was, from Capsidal. Afro winning those engagements on those rotations are definitely going to help your team out.
Yeah, I mean, Capsidal really kind of was struggling there, and I wonder if it was just the fact that he was basically just running into very, very talented setups like Afro used to.
He tends to. But yeah, he tends to on this map.
The shocker for me was actually Methodz. Like, I think that's the first time I've seen him go negative on Gavutu. I know our stats person will have the actual real thing, but I'm going off gut feelings here. And truth being told, whenever I see him on this map, I always assume he's going to drop like 30. Like, every single time. Not this time. Just wasn't able to keep up with London, who slayed completely. And I think it's a great point as well you made, Ton, right? Way back when, the meme was, London don't rotate, they just break. Well, unfortunately, that no longer works for them. They had to go away. They had to rebuild. I said this last week. And those fundamentals, especially from people like Trey, looked superb.
Yeah, looked really, really good. Of course, that little blip over towards people, we'll not talk about it anymore. I mean, that might actually just burn me for a couple of days. But nonetheless, other than that, absolutely fantastic when it does come down to those rotations. You got Zero in there, and I'm curious if it was just a case of getting that pace down between your ARs. Obviously, Harry coming in, different player to Gizmo, you would say typically a little bit slower. And I'm curious if that's the reason why Methodz maybe struggled a little bit. Can he maybe do better against the players who are faster, in the sense of Gizmo, who's going to be maybe flying at him a little bit more? Harry maybe a little bit more passive, makes it a bit more difficult for Zinni to find those kills. Nonetheless, though, still a very convincing performance from the London Royal Ravens at map number 1. Heading into a double Berlin coming up the next 2 maps. They'll be feeling confident. Last week against Paris, their S&D and control looked really, really good. It was just Hardpoint. That was the issue. You can't be losing 2 maps at Hardpoint, especially to a team like Paris, who are really not looking great right now. It's a bit of a surprise that they've came out and looked that good against Boston in map number 1. So maps 2 and 3 should be feeling very, very nice for the side of London.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I wasn't expecting London to have recovered as fast as I thought. Genuinely coming into this, I thought Boston would have the advantage. But that's one of the things I want to talk about as well, right? Like these two, obviously, in our big CDL standings going all the way to champs, they're very, very close. But the story of these two teams has been wildly different. London, we're talking about as a top 3 team at the start of the year. Things went a little bit awry, and to the point we thought they were in free-for-all, right? This is kind of, they had to rejuvenate everything about themselves. Boston, on the other hand, they weren't ever like top 3, even though some people might disagree, but they were getting better. They were having good results. They were a consistent team. They were basically, at one point, the gatekeepers for basically everyone from 6th downwards. They could beat all of those teams, and we knew they would have good games. I don't really know where to benchmark them at the moment. Boston are a little bit of a question mark in my book, and especially considering we are on the run-up to Major 3 and everything else that comes after it, I'll have to keep a close eye on Boston to figure out where I actually put them.
I'm just wondering if teams have maybe figured them out a little bit. You know, at the beginning of the game, they did look solid. I think they surprised a lot of people. But I think as the game has went on, people have kind of caught up in all the different game modes, and everyone has a really decent average level where they're at with most game modes for the most part. I just wonder, as I've said, if Boston have maybe been figured out here, and is there an over-reliance on Methodz to have a great game? Is that a problem then when you come up against some AR players who are going to do the business against you and Methodz can't pop off? Then what's the plan? It's maybe a little bit of a struggle for Boston in that sense. But look, I mean, this is just map number 1. Things can change here. And I still think they're definitely in that top 8 conversation. But have they hit the brick wall of what their limit was potentially? We know that this squad was put together, and we've spoken to Zed about this a couple of times. They want to make a squad that can do things, not just sit mid-table. And that's why they sign guys like Capsidal. That's why they sign guys like Nero. They know that these guys are maybe a little bit unproven, but they have the skill ceiling that is so high that these guys can push on. But are we seeing that skill ceiling, not necessarily for these players being met, but for this team being met at this moment in time?
So, big shout out to the stats person who we work with very closely and basically makes us sound way more intelligent. That's Carson. So, you know, I was already talking about, I don't remember when I last saw Methodz go negative on Gavudu. Well, he has the numbers. That was only his 2nd time ever going negative on that map. The first time was all the way back in stage number 1 many months ago. I told you, I felt, sometimes my gut feeling is very, very right. And yeah, I always thought that was a very big map for Methodz. It suits the way he likes to play. It plays into him, and he kind of overwatches for him. And that may even be the reason they struggled in some areas, right? If the usual setups you're expecting rely on one person to be superb, and he usually is, and if it's not working, then all of a sudden you're playing a very different game. But that was map number 1. Let's talk about map number 2. Berlin S&D. Of course, we can see here, realistically, it does look like a better story for Boston. But with London being a slightly different team, obviously, than recent memories, and having to obviously do a lot of work behind the scenes to get ready for their push for the next major, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how London are going to do here. They beat Paris 6-1 on this last week, so they'll be feeling some confidence heading into map number 2. Let's see how things are going to plan out. For the side of the London Royal Ravens, it looks like they're ready for a hit over towards B, which is looking like where Boston are on their way. Very much relying on an Afro to stay alive over towards A.
See with the pressure coming through, and if Capsidal makes a move in towards A, he may call for the rotate. Obviously, the only information he has at the moment is that nobody's in ticket. And you can see it happening now on the minimap. Boston are now going to try and clear this one out. On Overwatch, just Afro, and he will be screaming for reinforcements as soon as Capsidal breaches that door.
Nobody in yet. No information for Afro. No information for London. TJ is going to get spotted in mid-map, though. So is the curiosity is why is TJ in top 3? That's usually to watch the cross over towards A. There's a bit of movement. There's a bit of shooting going on, and the jig is up, so to speak. Afro shots in. Shots fired back. Boston with control of the site, but can they plant yet? It's a bit of a precarious one.
So they're trying to hold it off for the moment, and bit of pressure going through, but no, I think we've already cut one down, and it's gone chaotic as well as TJ finds another player P5. Capsidal's going to be sitting on there. Harry's already got a kill. Capsidal flies in. Afro's going to get one. Players all over the place, dying and trading, and TJ gets caught as well. London hold it down. A little bit of a delayed push there from Boston in the end. They were looking for information ton, and all they found was Gunny.
I think Boston may be just a little bit surprised at how easily they got inside of it. If anything, that's maybe one of those situations you get in, it's like, right, okay, well, we cleared it out. But they had to take their time clearing out nothing. So now Afro sat back there, he gets the information, the rest of the team pushed through mid. As soon as TJ is dealt with, that's completely open, and the rest of London can just file through there. Well played by London. Afro does good job to survive, and if you're Boston, it was just a struggle to push it out. Good start by the Royal Ravens. Looks like an A hit going to come through from both teams. A bit of an explosion going on over towards Ticket here in a second.
Looking for that player underneath as well, and Boston, having lost that first blood, will be trying to get one back. Unfortunately, Capsidal's going to get caught. And London with a huge numbers advantage now to play around A. Can Methodz do anything here? He knows where these players are. He's looking for them. He's picked wrong. He's been seen from mid-map as well. Now he's trapped. He's going down, but Nero gets one. This could be a potential 1v4.
Let's see if he can get the job done. Oh my god. The beams for the second. Harry is gone. Making it 1 versus 2. Afro. It does not have many health points left, I'll say that. Yeah. Grenade, not great enough though, but 1v2 still doable here for Nero.
If he'd got that, certainly would be on, but he's going to be looking for these players now, and he just doesn't see Afro when he needs to. Afro eventually walks away with a win there, but you are right, Ton. Kind of throwing that forehead above the wall and almost got it taken off, but eventually all good for London. Afro currently 3-0 as well, and they're on a little bit of a roll.
And one thing I just want to point out there, that for Capsidal, I don't know if it's one of those players that I just disagree with the push there. There's always going to be somebody we probably watch in the mid. London always said it. If they've done their homework, Zero's always top 3. Capsidal pushes through side though, has a little look, doesn't win the gunfight, runs straight forward, just head down, looking to get the flank immediately. London always have somebody there. A little bit of a fumble in that sense, and Zero is going to open up things on Nero here too. 4v3 for London.
Going to make a move, a little bit of a shoulder coming through, and Nasty sees it. He keeps seeing just the eyes of Capsidal, and eventually has to back away with it, but that was such a huge first blood from Trey. You see the rest of London are now playing around, and they know they don't have to do anything too crazy. They can play the retake, they can play for another pick, and Harry's going to see TJ, and TJ gets out of there by the absolute minimum of health, and he's jumped straight into Zero.
It's like, okay, well, where do I go? Oh, let's just drop down to safety. Zero's already got the call out. The kill comes through. Afro, same job once again. Just staying alive over towards there. Infos there. It's a 4v2 retake for London. Good luck to Capsidal and Methodz. Let's see if you can get the job done. Yeah.
Looking for it.
That's huge.
He's now alone. He's going to see 2 players as well. Finds the first. Knows where the second is. Does get the gun. Potential 1v4 now for Capsidal. The rest of London looking for it, looking for something, and unfortunately he is going to go down as he tries to play the window, Ton. But there was potential history in the making.
Always tough there. I think, honestly, like, hindsight is 20/20, but if Zinni can stay alive over towards the rear side of trains, and then he finds that 2-piece, then it's a complete different story. It's just unfortunate timing. But he played that one really well. I was thinking he could get some nice timing as London make the push out from fire. Takes his time and does a good job, but unfortunately left in a technical 1v4 at that stage. It's always going to be really tough against the London Royal Ravens, who are flying here on Berlin. I don't know, it just feels like the change to Harry has helped them in Search and Destroy. Leaps and bounds, if anything. Harry's not really doing a great deal. All the rest of the team, though, frying at the moment. 3-0.
Nasty, and TJ's going to see TJ first, though, as TJ looks long and doesn't get him, and there's another first blood for London. This swiftly, not really becoming a game, but more becoming a rout. You know, they're going to try to make a push. He runs into Afro, and Afro takes him down as well. Eventually, Methodz does get one back. This brings it back to a 2 versus 3 as he flies out.
Sees bomb.
Not like a hero play here, Methodz.
That grenade's not going to help things, though. Methodz now in a really tough spot.
They're just playing with him. They're just playing with him.
Need some help from Capsidal. Not going to get it in time. Capsidal not in the worst of spots. Doesn't know which way to go. And honestly, I thought for the Ravens, things were going to look really, really nasty because they start rotating over towards B after the play call over towards A. They say they don't like it. They start rotating with a little bit of a bait. And then you can see all of Boston want to push through B, push through mid to try and retake what they think is an A hit. And they kind of collide over towards B. Afro gets caught, but the gunfights go the way of the London Royal Ravens. as is the rest of the everything on Search and Destroy mode. At 4-0, this is quite an outstanding game of Search and Destroy from London so far. Boston look a little shell-shocked. They can't get anything going at all. Nasty on a 4 spray here as well. Keep an eye on that as we delve further into what might not be too many more rounds. No way, he's just going to get away. You are kidding me.
Oh my goodness. Boston haven't really turned up on Berlin so far. Methodz left in a 1 versus 4. And there is, I don't even really know what to say about this.
Right,
This is a dominant performance.
I don't understand how Havok gets that first kill. There is 4 members of Boston Breach in and around Ticket at least. He walks out double doors, gets a kill, and runs back and gets another one at door as well. I mean, I can, okay, it's a good snap for the second, but I don't understand how he goes through that and gets untraded. It doesn't get traded at all. I don't think anyone landed a bullet on him. Crazy. Anyway, honestly, Boston need to switch on here really quickly because Ravens are making this look easy. I wouldn't even say, you know, they're doing anything sensationally. They're just playing normal Search and Destroy, and it's working out for them. Fundamentals are there today.
Well, let's see if there is a way back for Boston. Carrying the defense, they cannot possibly give away another first blood. TJHaly watching Nero will get it this time. Afro, a little bit too quick of a snap.
Nasty now over towards B. This has to be the hit. Is TJ going to be ready for it? The other side of the window, though, making sure to watch crossover towards fire. Anything over aggressive from London will be punished. Very passive from Boston here, waiting for London to make a move.
Methodz spotted one. They're waiting. They have some information here, Boston. I don't think London know exactly where they are. And Capsidal may be the man to make a difference.
Look at TJ. Is surely going to get caught, is he?
Don't know. Look at that timing on the mini-map. Nasty and Afro around the back.
Oh, my word. Afro just got crazy timing on the Methodz as well. He's holding mid-map. He's holding that completely. Afro from behind. The Capsidal is going to be going, what's going on? And now all of a sudden it's a 2v2. Retake Methodz with the angles, though. 0 will fall. This is difficult now for Afro.
Looking to see if anybody comes through and
4 streak.
not going to go for the plant. He's going to try and play his life. Eventually finds one. And yeah, I'd run TJ as well. I wouldn't want to be facing him today. And Boston, just a sign of life. Just a smidgen. Just a tad. Just a thread of hope for a full sale.
It's a tiny kind of amount of hope here, Bryce. Here, I'd say, based on how some of these rounds have went. Honestly, London have just looked absolutely lights out here. 0 now. Looking to try and lock this one down. Something maybe a little bit faster from the side of Boston Breach. The grenade is out. He will have to back down. Too much presence from the Boston side. It's a great grenade on the Nasty. They open it up here. Is this an attack on the board for Boston Breach potentially?
They've slowed it down. Waiting to see if London get aggressive, and they haven't. Bomb will now go down, and London will have to react to it. 0 could be the first one to engage. He's looking for any inkling of where these players are.
It's tough. TJ holding the angle. Harry now needs to find yeah, this is so hard for the side of London. Choke this one up. Afro, though, can make it 6. If he can make it 7, that would be huge. Can't get it done. Really good job from the side of Boston Breach. Aggressive over towards B. Yeah, it's a fantastic setup, and honestly, the break that comes through at the beginning as well. Nicely done. But where was that for the first 5 rounds?
Still, 4 more for Boston. Their chance grows every round they can find something. And now on the defense. Afro currently 10-3, a great game for him, but it's only going to be a great game if London walk away with this win. You can see a 2-2 split coming in from Boston. And 0 Just a tiny bit of trouble.
Staying alive, though. It's the most important thing. This push through mid. TJ's going to have to do a good job and gets rid of the bomb carrier. Now that bomb is in a precarious spot. Anybody but the bomb carrier to go first. Afro, oh, that's a gunfight you didn't expect him to win. Should get taken down and does so, but now it's a 2v3. And London called this one back. They're in the territory of leaking too many rounds in a row here, Pricey. It's getting scary.
Oh, I don't think Zero's going to try and make any real magic happen. That bomb is in no man's land. He has no information on where the players are. And at the moment, it's just taking us on a guided tour of Berlin. And Capsidal says, thank you very much. I tell you something, for the first 5 rounds, Boston Breach failed. They've made a late plane here to Berlin. They finally have arrived. Capsidal 9-6 now.
London need to close this out. You cannot get the full sale is something we do not see too often, of course. But what momentum that would surely get Boston heading into the rest of the series. Afro sitting at 11-4. Those first picks from him have been substantial. Are London going to mix it up? Or Boston going to mix it up? They are going to spot Zero here, though. He's going to have to back on down. Look at the aggression from London.
But with that aggression, they will now know that push towards B is not incoming. And Capsidal with the first pick again. It's a 6th streak for him.
That's big.
Not a good first map, but a great second as Methodz finds a second as well. And London, who dominated 5 rounds in a row, are now in a 2 versus 4 on what could be a potential full sale.
Zero's going to open things up for London's account in this round. Nero is the one to fall, but Capsidal, that's a glide bomb. This will be another round for the side of Boston Breach. And this is getting quite terrifying for London. That is not good. That's a glide bomb. That's huge for the side of Boston Breach. It's so much information.
Well, London sitting pretty have been knocked off of that perch. Boston Breach return with fire. A full sale is only 2 rounds away. These players are going to be feeling it. Capsidal having a game, an unbelievable game. 8th Street glide bomb in the pocket. London going to try a chance, but he goes down. Glides off the table. That's a first blood for London. And the fairy tale might end here, Ton.
Oh, it might. And I was about to say there that Capsidal's probably not the player that you want on that 8th spree, because he's the kind of player you want to get aggressive and do things on the map. Can Boston retake? Nasty. He's ready for it. Not ready enough. Nero will find the kill. 3 versus 3. Oh, what is that snap onto Harry? He just gets the call that he's weak in spray. It's 2v2.
Boston looking to retake here. They're looking for Afro. They dive towards him. They find him. It's now just Zero. A 1 versus 2. Can they stop it here? They go for the challenge. Methodz is pre-firing and he gets it! Methodz gets the kill they need! It's 5-5, glide bomb and pocket, and Boston Breach have fought their way back, ready for a full sale. They just took 5 rounds to arrive, but arrive they have.
I cannot believe we're here. It's not even the 5-0. It's the fashion that they found themselves there as well, London. It was convincing. It was dominating. And Boston Breach have just done it right back at them. 5 in a row. Confident and dominating again. Nero went huge.
Oh, London. They have put themselves in an absolutely horrible position.
Has to be B. You've got the glide.
London, I think, have caught this as well. London are set up in B. London are already here. I don't know if Capsidal calls this in just for the information. Yes, he does. He's going to know. And I think London also have got on the perk so they can't see him. A player's about to breach. They have no idea there are London players sitting here in number. Nero! What has Nero just done? What has Nero just done? Oh my God! You shouldn't be able to breach in a B, kill 2 London players and walk away with a plant. Afro has to pull off a 1v4, but we are screaming towards full sail. And it's done! It's dusted! It's a full sail for Boston! London! Heads in hands! Stomachs in knots! Game in bits! What was that?
I have lost composure. What on earth was that from the Boston? Nero! Nero! Run that back, because I need to see that again. How on God's green earth has he found those 2 kills inside of B? That is absurd from Nero.
London.
They called it perfectly.
London knew what was coming. They changed their perks. They stacked B and
Look at
got
this.
destroyed. Look at this. Wasn't even looking in the right corner. Nero says, thank you very much. Turns and annihilates Scump as well.
I think Methodz helps out. But still. Oh. There's a certain former member, a world champion, who is saying blow it up, but not for the team that he's usually saying it about, because that is unacceptable from the London Royal Ravens. You cannot let that happen. You can't. Look, you can say, right, the previous 5 rounds, Boston played it great. They got a hold of the glide bomb. The job was basically done. It was in Boston's hands. I wouldn't say that they fumbled the glide bomb, but London called it correctly. They do the right thing. Somebody kill Nero. Somebody, please.
No, I don't know how to explain what we've just seen. Okay, London were dominating 5-0. It wasn't even close. Wasn't even really a game. Boston had barely got a kill in 5 rounds. I think it was 5 in total, or maybe 6. And then they get full-tailed. Capsidal goes bananas. London also, the round before that, 5-4, London get first pick and bomb down and then get clutched against. Then they call the play. That play has been called very specifically. Get the perks on, get in a B, stack it, hold them off when that bomb comes in. And then somehow, Nero finds 2. Right. I think Methodz may have got some bullets in as well, but shouldn't have happened.
No, absolutely not. At least a trade there. It has to at least be a trade. You get a hold of the bomb carrier who's in there. London then have a potential to retake. We're set up for a series now. It was looking like a London steamroll. It really, really was. But series is on right now. Boston Bridge have all of the momentum. How did London pick themselves up after that?
I don't know, but we're going to have to find out. This series obviously is going to continue. Currently 1-1 between these 2 monster squads, and London have to hit the regain. They have to find something new, as Boston basically just did a madness, a game we will talk about for quite a considerable amount of time. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you right after this.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by Zenni. Armor your eyes with Blox gaming glasses starting at $24 by visiting zenni.com/CDL. The Call of Duty League is brought to you by Game Fuel. Victory in a can.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty League. You're joining us here in a great game, and in case you missed it, here are the keys to victory for the London Royal Ravens. Something they should probably keep a look at. Puloff's S&T success in the last two series. That has aged like some milk. But we move on with our Game Fuel keys to victory. Take advantage of a Boston unbalanced offensive tack on Siege. Boston has only got a couple of breakoffs once in 25 rounds, and advantage on Tuscan hardpoint. Boston currently on a 4-game losing streak and the last in whole percentage. Now, with all that said,
throw it out the window. Throw them
yeah,
out. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter now because Bryce, I haven't regained. I haven't regained, so I don't know about those four. But at this point, the one Game Fuel key to victory that I would have for London Royal Ravens is completely forget about the last map just right now. Go back to how you played the first map and the first 5 rounds of Search and Destroy, and you should be fine. But that is one that sets your composure on fire. I would say you cannot let that happen. That's something that people don't forget about is Full Sails. That's one that will live long in the memory. And not just on top of that, it is of course Bounty Week, 10,000 up for grabs for the winner of this game. So there's that on top of it as well, Pricey. But honestly, I think the last thing on people's minds after that will be the extra 10k, because a lot of people are going to talk about that map number 2 for quite some time.
Yeah, it's going to become the highlight as we move into the control and we're back on Berlin. I need to get past that game myself. It's all I've been thinking about in the entire time, but I'm sure there's a VOD review session going to happen. Let's move on though. Control here between these two squads. First on the attack, Boston breach. Straight in away. No messing about.
London obviously overcommitting towards B. Don't want that fast push to come on through. Callout's going to come in there from Methodz, who's lingering over towards Train. I would imagine we'll see him camp up himself up the majority of the game on attack and defense. Good shots from Zero. Boston are going to find just a little bit of a way through over towards A here. A little bit of map control for London over towards Ticket stuff.
At the moment, pretty standard game. It looks like Boston eventually just going to be able to get the kills towards A that they need. And once they lock this one down, obviously, it's going to be a big push all the way through. They might hit street here, considering the condition they are currently in.
Here's gone. You choked that up if you're London. Maybe not. There you go. 3 dead. Nero is going to get a hold of it, but they are going to get pushed out here. Now, they have to be careful. The only thing for London is they don't necessarily have the bodies to initiate some problems here for the Boston Breach. Zero should fall and does so. Methodz will find that kill. It's going to open up Ticket side for Boston Breach, but they've got a couple of players to get through before they can get towards B.
Don't really hate London's push here. They're making very aggressive moves while cleaning the map out. And it's forcing Boston to take a step back, making them defend their own supply lines before they move forward. I say that, well, I say being aggressive. Zero just sprints down outside Tickets, and Harry's trying to hold it down as well. Right now, they're trying to regain control of this part of the map.
Yeah, London just filtering bodies in. They're happy to keep control of that. That's unfortunate for Harry. Nero will find one in the middle, and there's that little bit of respite for the side of Boston. Nero finds another coming out of top 3, and there's Capsidal for one more. That's momentarily 4 dead. You need to be quick here if you're London.
Oh, Nero almost in the perfect position, but it's not going to be quite there. TJ holding them off, though. First tick done.
TJ's finding another. It's only going to be the flank that's coming in from Afro that can slow this one down. Capsidal, he's at the front door. Harry will take down Afro. He was already inside the point. Methodz lines them up. Good shots from Nasty. A moment of respite for the side of London Royal Ravens, but they give up quite a bit there, including a 4-life deficit now.
That was a big save there from Afro. He had to get that player out, and now Boston to try and retake.
They're gunning.
They've got 2. London players telling in this point they know. They know they can't afford to lose these trades, and they are going to go down. Look at that. It's all gone. Capsidal has just cut them asunder. And that's a 3-piece on a 4 streak himself. Boston will jump at the point. Capsidal's keeping going, though. 5 kills for him. As he's going to run a route, try and hit a flank, but it's not really going to matter, surely. It's not. It's done. It's dusted. Boston win their first attack.
And London can just never get control back after that first good break comes from the side of Boston Breach. It was one by one that those kills came. They find that first initial foothold inside of B. They do not let it go. They do not relent on that pressure. And London cannot win the gunfights on their way back in. Well played from the Boston Breach. As soon as they found that pressure, as soon as they had their foot on the throats of London, they did not let up.
London kind of needed that first defense to get their heads back into this game, but all is not lost. First taken away. A little bit of pressure coming in now from Boston. They'll be looking for this. TJ again finds two. Almost finds the third onto Afro, but not quite. Afro goes for safety. Well, now we're just staying alive. Trying to figure out where any members of Boston are lurking.
Boston not willing to commit too much towards defending it here. Seems like they're happy to let this one go, as well as two players, TJ and Nero, now Capsidal dead. And the thing is here for London, they actually have some purchase over towards B. So this is maybe a bit of a dangerous spot here. You could do with Methodz staying alive. He's going to find one. And the rest of his team will come in off the respawn. Important that Methodz won that gunfight, because then if you don't have him there, you have nobody on the pinch, and it's everything through the front door for both teams.
Afro just waiting for his teammates to get back into and get some sort of pinch going. Zero, unfortunately, is not really in a position to contribute to this. That's maybe why London are hesitant. I think they're waiting for Zero to get somewhere near. Afro already makes a kill, though, so they might move on this.
To be honest, I think they're waiting for Zero to maybe push to the other end. He's going to be the one initiating this pinch. If he can find something, then that really helps them. But they're just going to go anyway. TJ will find Harry. Two of London's players inside the point. They just cannot coordinate a push together. And that's going to be another defensive hole for the side of Boston. I didn't hear that. You can see what they're doing, because Trey's not making his movement around there too quickly. He wants to push through tickets with the rest of his team through fire. Because if his teammates, which they often do, are going to win those gunfights around the flank of B, then Trey can push up and help them out from there.
At the moment, London can't really get a toehold on this attack. There was a big stack from them just a minute ago, and since then, they're basically just spread out sporadically. You can see again, Afro is going to try and be this catalyst. An aggressive player looking to make magic happen.
Boss not watching it.
Nero's
got his eyes on it.
Position.
They don't. Again, they're just waiting for one kill to come either side. You can see Zero again towards train tracks. You can see again London Royal Ravens, three of them towards the Platt side. One kill's going to be found inside a ticket. Two kills are going to be found inside a ticket. And now the London Royal Ravens are going to go. You're going to win your gunfights, Nero again. Oh my God, that's third as well. Nero, what on earth is going on?
Oh my goodness, London. Nero has your number today. And going to, I'm guessing he's paid an editor just to get a montage going after this series and desperately needs some clips, because he is pulling out genuine madness on Berlin.
So well. Right, the two kills are good, but the third, you have got to be kidding me. I need to see that. I need to see it. It looked disgusting from a third person point of view, never mind a first person. As God is my witness, please show me that. Here we go. There's one.
I don't understand. I mean, first of all, that was ridiculous.
Oh, he's not looking right. The second is crazy.
London were in such a great position, but I suppose we could be talking about last map as well. Nero does not care about subs. He does not care about being at a disadvantage. He's just winning the gunfights. You need to see from him. And now they're running straight into it. That is a confident chow straight out the door. Nasty eventually stops him. But Boston hurry 2-0 on this control. Technically, that means they've run 8 rounds in a row now, Ton.
I mean, come on. Come on. Capsidal, why are you telling that, and why are you winning the gunfight? He kills Harry. Harry has an auto, by the way. Absurd players out of the youngsters on Boston Breach. It has taken them a full map of hardpoint and 5 rounds of search and destroy to wake up, but they have woken up and they are swinging.
Capsidal once more. 4 streak. Still hitting the roots. Eventually, a stabilization coming in from London. They will not lose B as quickly as we could have done. Capsidal is actually still alive, running around. They eventually shut him down.
It's still doable for London here. They're only 5 lives down. Yes, there is 2 minutes still. But it's one of those, we know with the side of Berlin, when it comes down to control, these rounds can flip very, very quickly, one way or the other. For the side of Royal Ravens, this game could flip quickly. You win your defense here. You then get yourself an attack that can be done for the side of Ravens. They were maybe unfortunate on round number 1 not to get something going potentially, but on round number 2, I should say, it has to be a Nero God play to stop that happening. So they still have potential here. It just feels like all momentum they had from that map number 1, all momentum that they had in those first 5 rounds of Search and Destroy. That bubble has been burst. Boston Breach are the ones in the ascendancy right now. There's 2 more kills. Here comes the entry. There it is.
Capsidal, last one alive, I think. No, actually, he has reinforcements, and that man is Methodz. The AR ready. London. I've got an absolute mission to climb here. As you can see, they're trying to put the pressure on. That second tick's coming through already. Harry takes down Nasty as well. They needed the reinforcements. They needed something coming through. Zero and Harry find 2, though. TJ going to still be alive. They're trying to push in. Afro's going to try and make something happen, and he finds the first, but no. Capsidal's still there. The run, the sprint from Nasty, and he wins the gunfight somehow.
7v16 here, though, Brycey. It's going to be so hard. And that's 6v60, and Nero frying all game long. TJ's 21-13. Capsidal having a sensational game as well, and I don't think I've seen Nero lose a gunfight in about 20 minutes.
London, backs against the wall. Everything to lose here. And they're just trying to hold. Boston being very, very aggressive with their lives, and they can tell why. They've got the trades coming through as Capsidal wins another 21-11, and he pushes forward, says, hey, Harry, and Harry does shut him down, but the numbers are dwindling. 1 left is just Nasty, the last hope for London. He finds one and runs into the pre-fire of TJ, and down the Ravens fall. Boston, back-to-back, 9 rounds in a row, 6 on the S&D, 3 on the control. And all doubters are quiet.
I think London will be very happy to be getting off Berlin. They have not won around there in quite some time. That was phenomenal from the side of Boston Breach. Again, you had to have your guys making the plays. People like Nero are the ones that win you that first defensive round. And then from there, again, they outslayed. They have just battered London, actually. Look at that. That is substantial. I want to say that's at least plus like, what, 25? My word.
I'm not doing quick maths with you here live on stream, just to be clear. But what I will say is Capsidal, not a great map number 1. Gavudu Hardpoint was not his map. It did not work out for him. Goes into the S&D. Monster to be reckoned with. Does the same thing here. Apparently, it's Boston Breach Berlin. All right, it's all the B's, but it's an A-star performance.
26. They outslayed them by there in 1 map. They've just ran through London. Capsidal was just skating. But I mean, you know, the highlights of that one will, of course, be the Nero player. That is kind of what makes a difference. If he does not do that, London gets some purchase inside of B, and then maybe they can try and get something going. This first one, yeah, the gunning is there. This second one, Afro has been spat on. Shots in the side over towards Nasty, who is just not expecting Afro to have his pants pulled down in front of him. And from there, I mean, that's game over. That's game over. When London had that much pressure, that much control of the site, and Nero clicks his fingers and Thanos' the full team. It ain't happening. It's just not happening.
I am really enjoying this series. I'm not going to lie to you, just a big fan of COD Esports, but my goodness, we are seeing a show. We thought it was over. We genuinely, just a little while ago, it was 5-0 to London, and I thought, this is a 3-0. I should probably start thinking about the next game I've got to cast. But I was wrong, and I am glad to be wrong. We move into Tuscan Hardpoint, and it's been a game of 2 halves. London, great performance on Gavudu Hardpoint. Then the flip around. Berlin goes to Boston, and Berlin goes to Boston. And it's getting more and more one-sided. Is there a way back from London here?
I mean, Honestly, probably not. With the way that those last two maps have gone, it has to be a hell of a regame from London to get something going here. But Tuscan is something we talked about at the top of the show. Can London make something work here on what could potentially be a poor map on the side of Boston? Boston 4-game losing streak when it does come down to Tuscan, and last in hold percentage as well. So they're a weak Tuscan side. London look great in that map number 1, but they also look great for 5 rounds of that Search and Destroy. So you tell me what's going to happen at this stage, Pricey, because honestly, I'm really not sure. But with the way that the momentum is flowing right now, you cannot doubt Boston Bridge close this out. There's no way that anyone could call it otherwise. If London can wake up, then maybe they will have some confidence heading into map number 5. But right now, I honestly haven't got a clue. Boston, it feels like Boston's, but London, can they show us what they showed us in map number 1? If they can, they battered Boston. They smoked them. It's been such a strange game. It's been so one-sided to London until it wasn't, and now it's one-sided to Boston. It's crazy.
I feel like if we had said that we were going into, this was a 3-0 or even London were in advantage, it makes sense. But Boston have just turned everything around. And you are correct. Momentum is a very, very powerful force in Call of Duty. And you're right. Like, London are facing a massive uphill battle. I was so positive about them for 50% of this game. And now I feel like they are the massive underdogs going into Tuscan Hardpoint.
I honestly, they just have to concentrate the fact that Tuscan, if you're London, you have to forget very, very quickly as we head into map number 4. As said, the advantage on Tuscan Hardpoint is there for them. Boston on a 4-game losing streak when it does come down to Tuscan. Last in hold percentage. London had only won 1 hardpoint. Well, sorry, have only won 1 hardpoint out of their last 7. It was a 6-game losing streak until we got into map number 1. Can they show that hardpoint form again here as we head over towards Tuscan?
Hell. Not the way to start out. Capsidal finds 2. Nero hits the flank. It's a full team wipe. It's started. It's flipped to church.
Only positive here for London. They will have the spawns over towards P2 momentarily. Not the worst thing in the world. Early doors, but after the last 2 maps, the way you do not want to start it is a clean 4 down. Let's see if they can fight back here. Harry, Afro doing a good job in the middle of the map here. Afro going to find a second. Capsidal will be fell down, and Nero will then go back and just blow for blow. It feels like these two cannot just have, like, just a back and forth a little bit, like, a couple of trades. It's either one team is smoking the other or one team is smoking the other. It is crazy game so far.
I'm trying to hold the pressure off from Capsidal here, and looks at TJ as well, and TJ gets a few bullets on him. Doesn't go for the reach out. But Zero is alone. He needs some backup. Fortunately, Afro arrives on a 6 streak himself.
Oh, he challenges for it. Couple of members too many there for the side of Afro to deal with. Was going for the 7th. I like to see him maybe just take his time there, wait for the push to come through. Not many teammates around him apart from Zero, but they are going to try and find a retake here. 7 and 2 out Afro, another hot start. We've seen it map number 1. Can he continue it here? And map number 4, looking like London are going to get some time over towards the side. 30 seconds left to go. Boston having a look.
You see, a little bit of a fight coming from Methodz, looking for it. Finds Zero up top. Fires. Expects Nasty to be there. He isn't. And Nasty actually ends up winning the gunfight, just being a nuisance.
He's doing a really good job because the rest of his team are hightailing it over towards P3. Are they winning their gunfights over there? Well, they were. Capsidal is there to be a dagger in this defense of London. That is going to be set up in around 5 seconds. The hard point about to come up. Afro's going to need some help here. Does have reinforcements. Can London lock down this early rotation?
Well, Afro, a little bit of pressure now. He doesn't know which way to look. Eventually will go down. The breach sweep in, and Nasty's trying to hold the tide back. He's going to get taken down as well. Every time you think one of these teams is in the right position, it's a wipe from the other side. Boston refusing to let London even look at this hill now.
I mean, watching Nero right now is like watching another SMG player in green that quite often plays Call of Duty. At this moment in time, Nero is moving different. Every single time we get on board with him, he is just absolutely frying London. There's number 7. There's number 8. Okay, maybe I called it a little bit early, but nonetheless, another big spree coming in. And I said, neither one of these teams seem to be want to trade little moments here, and these huge moments every single time. But right now, Boston Breach are the ones who have had more of them. A 40-point lead for them after a really nice break over towards P3. Rotation is going to belong to London once more, but it did on P3 as well.
Well, with Boston in the lead, they have a little bit of time to play with here as they make the rotation. Capsidal, I don't know if he slipped the net or got called out, but he's going to try and chow this. Soldiers coming through, eventually backs off, waiting for some players to get in position for him. He goes up top and almost just staying alive, bottom church. Capsidal eventually does find his kill. Methodz finds one, TJ finds another. Methodz finds the last one, and there is some clinical execution coming in from Boston.
They're just breaking far too easily. London are just crumbling out the seams right now. Nasty and Harry trying to combine. Again, Team Nade comes through, but the rest of the team are now finding their way through as well. Capsidal is able to trade that. Capsidal is able to find a second. And Harry cuts him down before he can find a third. The pre-spray not quite there long enough. That's going to be another bit of scrap time, another bit of time over towards the Boston Breach. And again, London are the first ones here. God damn it, please hold a hill.
At the moment, there's a little bit of pinch they've got to worry about. Methodz already takes down Harry. Here comes the pressure straight through. Nero looks for play, doesn't actually find him towards the bottom, but will go for the chow and doesn't win that fight. London holding on at the moment as Methodz tries to get into position, but London do hold P5 against the original Boston push. A chance here for some big time, Ton.
Yeah, really big chance. Kind of time they need to get themselves back in a decent position in this game. If they can lock down the rest of the time here over towards P5, they will be winning heading into the second rotation. But here comes Capsidal. TJ will find one through the front. And all of a sudden, Boston Breach have managed to find some sort of break. London are here in numbers though, Bryce.
Capsidal just holding this contest. As TJ gets some, Methodz gets another one, and that's a wipe again. Where on earth do Boston keep getting this? TJ finds 3, and they're here for the rotation as well. Methodz ready, finds the first, but pressure coming from all angles. Eventually will go down, reinforcement to the face of Nero. London walk away with that rotation though.
They are going to get a hold of that rotation. They've got some decent time over towards P5. They kept it not too bad, but here comes the glide bomb. Is this going to help Boston find the break as well? There's 2 more. There's Nero as well, and that break just about perfect. There's 0 falls as well. Boston are frying.
They certainly are. Let's find out how they are doing in the comms though with the listening.
Push up. We're good. Deep.
Watch the church. We might have flipped.
Yeah, we
don't see anything.
Okay, we flipped them.
On the church still? I don't see shit.
Yeah, one shot, Harry. Absolutely in the tree. Help me, guys. Help me. I'm one shot, guys. Help me. I'm one shot. I'm rapping deep. We're missing Trey. Yeah,
no, Trey's our side. Trust.
He is.
Oh, I got you up still.
Good, I'm good. Wait, watch the other side, Trey.
Okay.
We're good here. Nice, keep on left.
Yo, 2 minutes. What the fuck? 2 minutes. Bottom church.
I bottom church. Bottom me dead.
Nothing old. You might jump top green maybe.
Yeah,
Don't get timer. It could be
TJHaly.
Okay. One shot, dead.
Nice.
Yeah, plat tray, one shot, plat tray, one bullet.
I'm picking up my
We have top plat.
I'm flicking green. I give him mid. I'm flicking green.
I'm only playing
I need it, Tom.
Green. Fuck.
One shot, front side time.
He's jumping.
Austin with the comms trying to keep a lid onto this one at the moment, taking a ferocious lead over the London Royal Ravens, who have got a long way to fight back, Ton.
Yeah, they used the glide bomb perfectly, obviously, before we went to the listening, and they locked down a lot of time over towards P1 because of that. That's the thing that these streaks can give you. Give you those moments, they're easy enough to break, and Nero is just still every gunfight. I mean, the fact that he's gunning Afro on multiple occasions here kind of shows the kind of game that he's played at this moment in time. But 0, 4 spree for him. Looking to try and make it a 5, he will do so. So maybe is this a little bit of life for the side of London? They're still 60 behind up.
Last time Boston did a great job here on P3. And they're going to know this as well. You can see them already setting up. Boston know what's coming. They know where this push should be coming from as well. TJ finds the first. TJ guns the second. Easy peasy lemon squeezy as London cannot break this setup. But 0 somehow still alive here on a 6 streak. Make it a 7. 0 might be the difference. And he goes down eventually the Capsidal. London have managed to flip over though. And the pressure's still coming through from them.
Still 70 points behind, but they have prevented this side of Boston from getting much here. Oh, Zero's going to call in the glide as all of his teammates fall. If you're London there, you just need to stay alive. Because if the glide bomb comes in, don't fly towards it. If Trace says he's calling it, you wait. They try to put the pressure down. They have been punished for it, and still Boston have control of P3. It's only Zero who could potentially do anything here. He will be cut down. The grenade is good to stop that scrap time. London will have the rotation. Look at the spawn from TJ.
Desperately trying to find anything in this game at the moment. They need some flawless hills. Not really fighting with TJ and Capsidal again. How many times have we said TJ opening up proceedings here into this one? And now they're back into the point. Capsidal sees Afro. It's a big gunfight, and he takes him down with a stun at the end. He sees Nasty. Nasty come through. London get back into church. But everything is just a struggle for them.
Every time the Boston Breach are getting time, it feels fluid. It feels like good Call of Duty from them. The London Royal Ravens are have pretty much scraped together 100 points here, 150 points here. They're 60 behind. They've been at that deficit for quite some time, and it's usually because Boston Breach is slaying very, very well. But 15 seconds left to play with here. Rotation over towards P5 is what we're going to be going for next. London will get that scrap. London will be about 40-50 away by the time we get over towards P5. They need to stop Boston winning. They need to win the rotation over towards P1. There is still so much work to do.
And London have to get in here. They need to find a way through these doors. Nasty gets a team kill. TJ gets another one. Capsidal gets one more. And Nasty's now a very lonely man, but he does find Capsidal for company. London, the time is running down.
I don't understand why there's a grenade there from Nasty in the first place to get the team kill, but here we are. Zero will find two on the way in. It's well played from Nasty as well. TJ will also fall that team kill, sorry. Matters not, as Nasty will find the breakthrough. Boston, 15 away. London needs to nearly be perfect here if they want to try and win this and force that map number 5. Nero and Cuff, they're on their way in. Nero feeling the confidence, goes on his own. TJ now, the next one on the chopping block potentially, as Harry will find another. It's been a great hold from London. Rotation-wise, we need to look at these gunfights. They're coming up next over towards P1.
Afro, the only London player here, finds Methodz. Not going to find a second, though. And only 10 seconds remain. Nasty finds Capsidal mid-map. And the pressure coming in from London Royal Ravens. They are pushing. They are being aggressive because they have to be. And they find two as ready. Nasty comes around the back and finds another. And they have the point on. They've managed to rip it away. Boston have 4 seconds left to win it. And now London have to hold.
It's still so precarious for the side of London. They must hold, and they must hold perfectly. Middle of the map is where the push is going to start coming from. Harry, up top inside of Broken, is not going to see the flank that's coming on through from Nero, but Zero is. He deals with one. Will not expect Capsidal. All the way from behind as well. He finds two, and TJ finds another. And all of a sudden, it's Nasty left all on his own. And Boston Breach, it took you a map and a half to wake up. But when they woke up swinging. Boston Breach take it 3-1. And Bounty Week kicks off with a Boston win with a full sail included.
Well, somebody must have reminded them that it was Bounty Week. About 5 rounds into that S&D. Boston Breach have ruined the Royal Ravens. A 3-1 victory here for them. And a legacy made, because a lot of people are going to remember that full sail, unfortunately. It turned the series around. And London fell.
It has to go back to that search and destroy. It has to go back to it. That's the turning point in the series, without question. Those are the kind of moments that can make or break confidence in a team who... Look, we had some kind of, some reservations about London coming into the series ourselves. We weren't too sure what we were going to see, specifically, I should say, sorry, in the hard points. They came out, they did exactly what they needed to do in the hard point. They started the search and destroy exactly how they needed to as well. And from there, they had not been at the intensity of Boston whatsoever. Boston just ran through them. Ever since they went 5-0 down, Boston have not looked like losing once.
Yeah, and there's really no other way to put it, Ton. Like, London were shutting our mouths about their potential current play, but then we opened it again because Boston said we should, and that has got to sting. That has got to sting. A bounty match, $10,000 on the line. And London don't have it.
That's really going to hurt London. It really does. Tweets already coming in from their side of things after saying this can't happen. You're right, it can't. It really can't. I mean, even if they lose those next 2 maps after the Search and Destroy in the same fashion, at least you've got a map number 5 to count on after winning a Search and Destroy, probably convincingly, if you could have somehow closed out one of those rounds. That is it. Quite monumental game from the Boston Breach. Royal Ravens will walk away licking their wounds from that one, because that's borderline embarrassing. It has to be said. You can't let those full sales happen. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and it feels like a series that hinged on one map, and I never really like to say it, but I don't know how you really gain after that, and apparently neither did London. I suppose it's just time to reflection and VOD review and figure it out as you move past. But coming into that one, I suppose the silver lining is that we still saw London may be rebuilding, regaining, and there are positives to take away. The Gavudu hardpoint looks superb. Most of the S&D looked very good. The rest of it, not so much, but obviously London are looking to move forward. Major 3 is still around the corner, and there is still an awful lot to play for. But I tell you something, it's going to be a fun time over at the desk breaking that one down.
So Bryce, you said you don't know how you don't know how London's going to regroup after this. They got to regroup the same way Boston did, okay? Because London won that first hard point outright, and it kind of looked like a GG for a second there, but it was Boston that put them to bed. They said night night and just ran away with it. Ali, this team went crazy, but you made a really big point in the back room last week. When Boston went against NYSL, you said, man, they got to shut down Hydra. I said, how do you shut down someone like Hydra? You got to neutralize and make them at least look average, right? Afro was, what, 18 and 31 in that last map? They did exactly that. Everybody fired off on all cylinders, and they walked away with 10 big for the win.
Especially to do it after they won the Gavudu 250 to 176, and it was Afro that was having that series.
Destroyed.
Afro, that is one of his favorite maps, and what is insane about that is he is a SMG player. He's a sub player who loves Gavudu and is nasty at it, and it showed in that first hard point, but from then on out, Boston shut him down.
They killed him. Ant, man, talk to me. What do you like? It's been a while since you gave one of these post-game analysis.
Brother, I know. Listen, Boston, they look fantastic in that series. They look like they were a little bit asleep. I mean, I was heavily critical of them on that map 1 and 2, especially in the first couple of rounds of Search and Destroy. They kept giving them the rounds, giving them bloods. There was 4 rounds in a row where London Royal Ravens got the first blood, and they go up 5-0. Well, what happens after that? We see them slow down a little bit. Capsidal starts to get first bloods back to back, and Nero with the big plays as well, popping the 2 kills when he needed to, bottom in the closet. Like, that was a huge turnaround. They rode that momentum throughout the rest of the series, and then in the control, we really love what we saw on the defense, especially.
Oh, the control was literally masterclass, but I have to talk about the fact that Boston looked so terrible in that first 5 rounds of S&D that me and Anthony were listening and like, wow, this is really bad out of Boston. They aren't playing together at all. They're getting picked off, and then just suddenly Boston changes the pace. They slow down. They start playing for those opening picks. Nero had 2 very, very important 2 pieces. One in secret, which I don't even know how he got the second guy because they knew he was there. And then when Cap called the glide, you know, he's like, oh, guys, there's 2 fire and there's 2 in B site. I'm going to try and get 1 in fire. And Nero probably just went, oh, watch this. And he gets 2 people in B site who's watching each other's flank? Like, how does that happen?
He made it look easy. By the way, while we're talking about this whole full cell experience to Search and Destroy, let's go ahead and take a look at the Scump play of the game. And it's going to be all of the full cell. Shout out to Boston. The second one that we've had so far this year, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest turnover we saw is like Boston, they were playing so aggressive, even on their defenses in the first couple rounds, and they kept getting blooded. When the full sale, they slowed down, right? They started to communicate, and we saw them actually start to get those bloods, and London got flustered. You could tell they knew what was coming. It was really Capsidal going on that streak. We saw him have the automaton in his hands rather than an SMG, and, you know, slowed him down. He was able to pick up those early kills.
I think the most important round in the Search and Destroy was actually when Boston was down 4-5. When Cap went and hopped in that window to look at Outer, and he got first blooded, that is the glide bomb out. That was supposed to be like a saving grace for Boston, and he was the person that got picked first. And then Nero finding those 2 in secret to even it back out and regain control. That was a huge composure round of Boston.
What else can we even say about Boston right now? Zenny is just consistently great as an AR. Capsidal's doing Capsidal things. I love how he's playing like the disruptor role, especially we saw it on Berlin, right? With that big spree. T just really coming to his own as team. Nero is a beast. Like we can say so many things about him all day long. But also looking forward, London Royal Ravens, they're still trying to find their way. But we did see flashes of good things, right? Afro was unstoppable at the beginning of the series. Harry wasn't as hot as last time we saw him on screen, but he was still good.
I mean, it was solid. I mean, I thought the first map was fantastic. We saw that play they made at P3 going into P4 where Zero pinched all the way around, picks up 3 kills, they flip the spawns, and they basically shut him down. They look good on that hard point. And then in the search and destroy, they even look solid there. They're playing very slow. They're picking up a ton of first bloods. It was just, you know, later in the game, right? When you can't let things get out of hand like that. You have to communicate, slow down, group up. You're giving them those early kills. Like, that's you need to make those adjustments. And for London, they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we also have an interview with a post-victory spotlight. Shout out to Mountain Dew Game Fuel with the one and only Nero, who's been tearing it up lately. Nero, my man, how you feeling today? And I have to ask you, you've been playing absolutely different lately, especially after the Pro-Am, right? How did you really find your sauce, and how much more comfortable are you on this team?
Well, for me personally, I've been playing a bunch of ranked, and I actually been playing a little more 8s too. So obviously, reps is consistent. So when you get consistent reps, you obviously get better at the game. So for me, it was mostly my S&D, because my S&D haven't been looking the greatest recently. So I've been really focusing on my S&D as like my game mode.
That's insane to me, Nero, because I feel like S&D is when we truly get to see what you are capable of, especially in that full sale. Again, I have no idea how you got those kills, Secret and V. I can only imagine how you felt getting them. That Berlin, though, the control was literally masterclass out of you guys in a hot 3-0 fashion. The defense was literally beautiful. You guys were 0-1 on control heading into this series, so at some point, did Berlin just kind of click for you guys and be added to the map pool, or did you kind of just test it going into this series?
I think we tested it because obviously our Gav record is abysmal, so... so that map is kapoop. So, but for Berlin, we said might as well try it and play it because you just never know with that map, because obviously Gav we knew for our control, but Berlin is just a wild card.
Yeah, Nero, first of all, shout out Grove Tucky, my guy. Fantastic play this series. Yep, fantastic play this series. Obviously, I got to ask you about the full sale, right? You guys down 5-0, you come back, you win that. It seemed like you guys were giving up a lot of kills early in the rounds, in those first 5 rounds. Then you guys started to get first bloods. What was the adjustment that came in? Was there something specific that you guys decided to change?
We started playing slower. I feel like the first couple rounds, they were just hard countering us bad, because like everything we did, even when we went A, like they just randomly just died to hit out A. So it was just, they was hard countering us, and then we said, screw it, we just need to go play for picks and just try and get the bomb down, and it just worked in our favor. And we just said round by round.
All right, Nero, good big win today. Congrats on the 10K. You want to give an extra shout out to your fans, shout out to Pete, your girl, anybody that might be watching out there?
Yeah, shout out Pete, shout out to my mom and dad always being supportive, shout out to the Boston family, and shout out to my girlfriend Eleanor, she's the best.
Hey, what are you going to do with your part of the 10K that you won today? Be real with
savings, you know?
My man, there we go. You smart.
I've been putting stuff in savings. Is my mic better, by the way?
You sound great.
You sound beautiful.
Okay, because last time it picked up through my webcam, so I was like, oh.
You're good, man. Listen, you have a beautiful day, and we'll catch you next time, all right?
Love you too. Thank you, guys.
Oh, no problem. All right, so Nero, but as the interview ends, Ali, when it comes to Nero on this team, he's really stepped up to be one of the biggest things we talk about when it comes to looking at the end of the match sheet.
He really has, and I'm surprised that he said that, that he's working on his search and destroy, because I definitely feel like that's when we see him shine the most. I feel like Nero always takes over maps, and it's always going to be in that search and destroy. So to see him still continuing to want to get better in that game mode and to not reach the level that he wants to be at yet, that is something so refreshing that I feel like from the players coming up from Challengers.
Nero absolutely uplifts this team. And speaking of Challengers and what's to come, Major III is right around the corner. I believe we're, 3 weeks away? I'm terrible with that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So these two are going to be going to Toronto for the first time, and we will all be checking out not just the CDL, but also the Challenger side. Take a look at that. Sold out already. And tell them, man, they need to get their tickets.
Yeah, get your tickets, man. It's going to be lit. The Passion Pit is always a good vibe. We've had some crazy storylines. Players coming up from Challengers this year, winning championships in the Pro League.
Yeah.
It breeds some good talent, so I'm going to be keeping my eye out there.
Eyes out on the AMs all the way through. But ladies and gentlemen, we have another series to get to today to find out who the kings of the North really are, right? We have the Minnesota Røkkr and also Toronto Ultra, the host of the next major. We'll catch you guys on the next side of this break for some more CDL action. But before we go, I'm going to give a big shout out to Boston Breach for winning their fair share of the 10K prize for winning the first ever bounty match this week. So, hey, shout out to all of you again. Big shout out to Nero for being absolutely stellar. We'll catch you guys in just a minute.
can't stop us.
The Call of Duty League is brought to you by Mountain Dew. The Call of Duty League is brought to you by Zenny. Armor your eyes with Block's gaming glasses starting at $24 by visiting zenny.com/CDL.
Haters talking to me, tell them pipe down. Or it's lights out, zeros on the debit, baby, all I do is swipe now. Gucci sweater 5,000, gunning, buzzing. I be going up, no ceiling. Wow, ballin', running, getting to the paper, I'm peeling out. They gon' know me as legendary. You in the stands, I ain't need no commentary. They gon' know me as legendary. You in the stands, I ain't need no commentary. Ain't no option, ain't no secondary. I just throw it out like a Hail Mary. Legendary.
The prophecy will be told. You will not escape your fate. When the cold wind blows.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty League. I'm Vela. You guys already know the deal. That's Alien, also nameless. But right here on the desk, we're all about our money. But we're about to talk about something that makes a lot of sense right now. Minnesota Røkkr made a fantastic team change, and even though I really didn't know what to expect, it seems like Havok seemed to be the perfect pick for them so far, and everyone's elevated for it. Priestahh all the way to attach. I'm loving the Røkkr.
Yeah, the Røkkr looked great last week. I mean, 2 3-0 victories, basically just dominating all of Los Angeles. That's exactly what you want to see out of this team. And namely, the respawns got so much better. I mean, this is a Minnesota team that went from not being great at hardpoint to having #1 average plus minus in hardpoint over the course of week 1. So these guys are playing great in that game mode. Havok comes in and he has an immediate impact on search and destroys and the respawn. He had a 1.52 in their series, and then Attach has been the superstar on this team, moving to that AR role. Not only is he popping off in the KD department, the guy led the team in damage, so he's keeping up that speed and that pace, something we have never seen out of a Minnesota Røkkr roster.
And Standy looked like he's going to Super Saiyan for the 3rd dub in a row here in the CDL. But when it comes to the game field keys of victory, well, we got it.
Well, they got to continue hot form and hardpoint and control. They have won 7 of the last 9 respawns. A team that was struggling in that game mode is now looking incredible with the addition of Havok. And Attach is leading the way. Attach with a 1.20 KD since the start of the Pro-Am. 3rd overall. I feel like we've seen an entirely new player out of him. It's like he's been let go of being held back in this pace and locked down the map 1 bow cage. Røkkr is 2-0 with the new roster on bow cage. Hardpoint Toronto is on a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, it seems like this team is on the tear so far, and we've been seeing it all day long, but they're going to have to bring it against a team that is currently on the upward trend as well. When it comes to Toronto Ultra, Ali, this is a team that they were off and on when it comes to certain game modes, but we just saw with that key to victory right there, Minnesota Røkkr, when it comes to respawns, this is really going to be a big test against Toronto.
You know, the map views across the board are fairly good for both teams here, except for that Tuscan hardpoint, because Røkkr is 0-6 on it, but that is game 4, so we have to make it there first, right? But for the likes of Toronto Ultra, their series against Seattle and what we've seen from them, yes, they're starting to win some respawns, but we also had a player going like triple negative and them still almost losing. So a little worrisome on the side of Toronto, but it's still a step in the right direction.
And to continue on in that step to the right direction, by the way, the game field keys victory in order for Toronto Ultra to win, what's it going to be?
Yeah, you can't rely on maps 2 and 5 versus Røkkr. Røkkr's #1 in SD round win percentage since the Pro-Am. Toronto #3. These guys have had some epic search and destroy battles in the past. I think it's 50-50 split there in this series for that game mode. And then improve your first blood conversion on Berlin search and destroy, only converting 52% of 4v3s on Berlin, 11th overall. So that's got to be better. We know how Toronto Ultra plays. I love the volley back and forth. You get that first blood, just take it to the other side and commit there. Then win the rotation battle on Tuscan. Toronto first in hold percentage on Tuscan. Røkkr last in break percentage.
Now, as we head into the second match into our bounding week, remember the winner of this game, the team is going to win $10,000 outright. So, hey, good luck to the victors. But let's send this over to Lando and Standy, where we have a birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy
brother. You look good.
Baby. Come on. Thank you guys.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday to you.
Happy birthday. You old as shit now, boy. Happy birthday. Go ahead, take it away.
I was happy to keep rolling. I don't know, maybe have some birthday candles, possibly. Jay, I've decided to decorate a little bit for you. Happy birthday, buddy. How you feeling? 27 and looking beautiful, my good sir.
I feel good. I feel good, my friend. You know, waking up this morning a different age. Now I'm 27 years old. I had a little bit more back spasms, but it was because we have this match in front of us. This match is going to be insane between Toronto and Minnesota. Minnesota, obviously, they are trying to just change their story for this team. Ever since they made that roster move for Havok, everything has just started to turn around. They're playing SNG maps. They're looking really good at theirs. And then they took over LA last week. Now they're trying to conquer the North, and it's going to be tough because Toronto Ultra, you can never count them out.
You definitely can't, man. This is going to be a blast, right, for the Battle of the North. By the way, I like how I'm asking you about your birthday and you just instantly get back to COD. You are a
100%.
You're a monument to modesty, buddy. A good man that you are indeed. But as you said, here are our maps and modes when it comes down to it. You saw that Minnesota did win the coin toss, by the way. I don't know if I've ever noticed that graphic, but shout out to the team for getting it done. As we said, $10,000 is on the line extra for this match. It's going to be a fun one. Bounty week is in full effect, and we're kicking things off here on the cage. Everybody trying to earn that bread as we will load it into your tour of Bocage in just a few moments. But Jay, your initial thoughts of Bocage between both of these teams?
Yeah, so Bocage is going to be a little bit scary on the side of Toronto because the last 4 times they played it, they have lost. For Minnesota, so far, ever since picking up Havok, they're sitting at 2-0. So this is going to be the story of the series for me. Whoever can take this map at number 1, if it's Minnesota, I feel like they're going to have that good momentum to take that S&D, and this series might get done in 3. This is a map that I feel like Toronto Ultra need to take to extend this series.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's a really interesting series. Obviously, it's Bounty Week. Obviously, it's the Battle of the North. But also, like we've talked about, both of these teams have been on the upward trend. And, buddy, unfortunately, the teammate comes through. But a lot of the reason for the upward trend has become on this very mode, Hardpoint. Both of these teams seeing a lot more success as of lately. Granted, they both sit at like 11th and 12th in the standings, but you wouldn't know that based on their performances as of late as Minnesota wiped the board at P1.
Yeah, Minnesota do a great job of getting 22 seconds off of that P1, but now with 10 seconds off the rotation, Inside and Cleanex trying to work their way into bottom barn. They're going to spot a couple players in towards back 10. But can he win these gunfights? Cleanex is going to be able to take down one. Challenges the second. Not able to win it. So that's going to be Minnesota securing the spawns for the time being. They kill all the players off from the back. Now it's time to challenge it from the front. Toronto Ultra have a tie game now, but Minnesota should break now.
Yep, Minnesota should be in a good spot to be able to do so. P2, one of those hills where, like we've talked about it throughout the season, one of those where at times you have the ability to slow it down. And right now, it's exactly what Minnesota have got. A slowed down Bocage for the moment, but that pace is about to get elevated as we take a look at Havok's perspective right now. The man's getting all kinds of greasy inside of top grandmas. Never thought I'd say that sentence in my life, but right now he sits on 5 in a row. Jay, 2 away from the glide bomb.
Oh, and unfortunately gets stiffed out right there by Cleanex, but Minnesota are doing a great job of flipping these spawns. Right now, Toronto Ultra, they're going to be spawning towards that lower water side. 15 seconds remaining. Standy off the rotation. He's able to win that initial gunfight in towards top grandmas, but now you cannot allow any players to sneak through. Look at the position of Cammy as he's going to win a huge one-on-one versus Bance, but they just have to take care of Cammy. They cannot allow this guy to be a playmaker and potentially flip these spawns for them.
See if he's successful in doing so. Attached, Cammy instantly there for the trades, and Priestahh with that assault rifle, holding things down toward the back. There's been a lot of talk, Jay, about his performance. There's been all kinds of speculation on if he has been able to really be the guy that they need. A lot of controversy, right, for the Minnesota side, and dropping somebody like Major Maniac to keep Priestahh on the team. And now he's in one of the bigger spots, as they'll be needing him to go off in multiple positions like this throughout the series.
Yeah, if I'm Priestahh, honestly, from watching what they were doing last week, like, he's really just cooling it. Like, he's allowing his SMGs and his flex player in attach to just run around and get these kills. He's just trying to secure the spawns for the team, basically doing the dirty work. So that's the thing that I feel like for this Minnesota roster, ever since this roster change, has definitely shown improvements, that their pacing is completely different. Everybody is in sync. That's why you see them start to pull out some of these hardpoint wins. They're seeing them take a couple of these respawns. 7 out of 9 in their last couple have been victories. So everything is just changing for this team. If they continue their search and destroy, get a little bit more consistent in their respawns, they definitely have a contender for a championship.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like if you're looking at stats, everyone's like, okay, well, you know, Priestahh's maybe not living up to the same, you know, level that we expect. Well, at the same time, as you said, man, the stats speak for themselves when we talk about the overall idea of how these rosters have played. Is we've got some mixy fights going down through middle. Minnesota, that much more of a threat in these opening hard points ever since adding Havok to the lineup, seen a few of those role changes, but right now it is Toronto trying to hold things down inside of bottom barn. Cleanex to without a doubt, the player to focus on right now for Ultra. He's doing a great job so far. Clear skies, it looks like, for Toronto, and a large part of that is because of the damage that's being done on the outside. But just as we highlight that, 4 go down, Minnesota now in the HP.
So now Toronto, they did a great job of just getting a good chunk of time off of this P4 hardpoint. Now with the rotation, you have to win a couple gunfights. Attach and Standy able to combine for 3, make it all 4 dead. Now easy rotations for Minnesota to now get set up properly for this P5 and take the lead right on back. This has been a back and forth game between both of these teams. Right when you think a team is going to set up properly, someone is going in, popping a 2-piece to make the break. Right there, Standy does it off the rotation to properly set up Minnesota. But now Trey's going back and forth. It's going to be a fight for the spawns now.
I was gonna say, man, like you've been talking about, it's been really really no change so far throughout this Bocage. It looked like maybe a glimmer of light there for Toronto to maybe carry that same cadence in toward P5, but damage done, and right now an open hill as Toronto will happily have a moment to maybe grab some seconds, and they will be successful in that venture. Priestahh gets dropped from the back, and with that, Toronto have some time to maybe sink their teeth into this hill. Cammy's still alive, mid, really stunned. Ends up getting dropped, nades, stuns everywhere. MP40 shots, out of baton bullets flying throughout Bocage. There's a nice little nade landed there from Bance. Great little 2-piece as well as we reset and go back toward P1.
Okay, Benjamin, that's how you're shooting today. I see what type of time you on a 3 spree. He knows the spawns. He knows exactly where they're coming from. He's going to challenge the first. He knows the player slides right into bottom Grandma's, not able to win it onto Havok, but this is going to be all gunfights coming down towards P1. The first go around, Toronto Ultra gave up about 25 seconds to the Minnesota Røkkr. You cannot allow them to happen again because on this P1 specifically, this is where Toronto Ultra struggled. They only average about 7 points on this P1, giving up about 20. So you do not want that to come back and bite them at the very end of this game.
Oh, and take a look at Standy. Standy trying to make the play over for these next side spawns. So he's going to get found out. Cleanix will give the calm communication over to his teammates, as we know Toronto likes to do. But right now, Standy still sits at the back of the base. 15 seconds left over at P1. But as we've talked about, this next rotation is going to be the focus for both of these rosters. And because of that play for Standy, he will give his teammates spawns for now. A few close ones inside of 10. As right now, Insight looks to pile on the pressure. Still back here, found out. Great win from Priestahh.
And now that's going to be Minnesota securing the spawn. You also have Standy on the 5 spree. If I'm Standy, I'm just like getting off of this point. I want to play for this glide bomb because it's going to be such a game changer. But let's just step aside now. Minnesota playing well. Let's see how the comms sound with the boys on the Minnesota Røkkr.
One shot. We need time here.
Rat door to back door.
I don't have back door right now.
He didn't hit back door. He's hit me back. He went back time.
Rat, watch out. There's two in barn. One's absolute. Left corner. Rat. Nice. One more in barn.
I'm going top barn.
This is big time if we can get this.
Oh, watch out. Inside. He's dead. That's 3.
Oh, dead.
Nice. I got it. Pick it up.
In-house, one shot. Cleanix, front door. Cleanix, one shot going front door.
I'm top. Cammy's top.
I'm one shot.
I'm in A top.
Fill time.
Yeah, I'm filling in.
Top one shot. He's weak by nade top.
I'm working left.
I'll shot top. Nice. 20-point lead. Deep breath right here. Let's get a break on this hill.
I have a nade. I'm gonna nade top.
He's not top peeking.
Coming left, you guys.
Oh my goodness, what a nice little communication sample that we got there at the end from Minnesota, trying to be calm, cool, and collected with the 20-point advantage that they have got as Standy looks to break on through. Let's step aside now toward the other end and listen with the Ultra boys.
What's up, really? Nice.
Gonna be back left. I'm getting time.
I got time, Dad. Guys, Priestahh, yeah.
Nice, we can get them in the front.
I've hit the back left. Out.
Yeah, Priestahh
still tower. I need help from the left. We got you push.
Right, flip.
I mean, two are there, bro. Oh my god. They're playing the right.
Yeah, on me tower, Ben.
One shot, Standy. Standy's close on you. One shot. One more.
Standy. Back window,
Standy.
He was weak. Go on kitchen, maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll kill him. Dead.
I spawned deep at it. I'll get this one. Look for touch.
I think this one. No, yeah.
Nice touch.
Yeah.
Got heady.
I'm gonna back up here, Jimmy.
One's towering you still.
Okay. Set up a good break here.
One's tower still.
Priestahh. One's in hut as well.
Absolutely. Hey, on me. Priestahh.
Priestahh's gate. Front kitchen going main. Absolute main.
And the communication right there for Toronto was hot fire. You could hear Bance the entire time, just letting his teammates know exactly where they're coming from. They're all attacking from that street side. That's what eventually allows Toronto Ultra to get a great hold on that P3 to take the lead right on back. But Minnesota, they're responding. They're trying to do everything they can in towards bottom barn. Priestahh is going to come out on top in the trade. Still basically a tie game.
Oh my goodness, back and forth affair, and you can kind of notice like the concern in Toronto's voices, Jay. I mean, we always talk about it. I've alluded to it earlier in this bocage that normally when we go to Toronto listens, it's like, yeah, you know, it's P5, okay.
Yeah.
You have no idea if they're up or if they're getting destroyed. I mean, they could be dominating somebody or just getting 100-point club. On this map, though, you can feel it. They are trying to take it to their rivals in the Minnesota squad. As back and forth we go, blow after blow exchange. The final 10 seconds are going to go the way now of Minnesota as attach goes 25 and 25 after that engagement. And now it is a race toward new. Toronto prepared, but again, it could not be closer than this, Jay.
Yeah, it cannot be any closer than this. A trade already as Standy does find 2 through the middle of the map. You see the Toronto Ultra, they're trying to secure these spawns. They eliminate that player in Havok, who was trying to set up for that pinch, but now Minnesota are properly set up. You already have a player in Priestahh who's pushed that towards back elbow. He bees a little bit aggressive right there to give up his life for free towards Insight. So now that opens up the position for the Ultra to attack from that side. But Minnesota are doing a great job of just soaking up the time. And keep in mind, they've done it so far. The first 2 go-arounds on that P1, they've averaged about 20 seconds there. And Toronto have basically got nothing. So this is scary. Toronto need to break.
Toronto have done so at least for the moment. These final 20 seconds look good for them. Minnesota's got a decision to make. Do they rush this hard? Do they set up for next? Well, it could be Standy who makes his way through sewers. No, sir. Not going to happen today. Cammy has got some words. Takes him down. Thankfully, Priestahh is there to avenge his fallen comrade. But nonetheless, As we come back from the second side of rotations, it is now Toronto with the lead. Granted, not a massive one, but so far throughout this game, it feels like 18 points has got to be one of the bigger ones that we've seen so far. Toronto in the back of their spawn. Toward back grandmas is where they're coming from. And Standy lying in wait, prepare to take them off the spawn. As two are able to sneak on through. Player number 6 in Cammy might be thinking about spawns for the future. Still, a lot of time to be had, a lot of kills to be found. As Standy once more goes on the prowl and gets found out.
Yeah, right now, Toronto Ultra, they're not playing for any time, so they're allowing Minnesota to get right back into this game. They can find this kill onto Cammy. Havok, unfortunately, does not win the gunfight. So that's going to be 3 dead. Now the spawns flip. Toronto Ultra are going to be properly set up for that P2. Minnesota only down by 4 points. 15 seconds remaining on this P1 hard point. Toronto Ultra just need to get 1 wave of kills so they can set up properly. 221 to 214. This game is going down to the wire.
Jay, what are trees made of?
I don't know. They're
indestructible. They apparently are. Nades, fire from your weapon. I have no idea. All I know is that Toronto are 20 seconds away from maybe securing this first hard point. Now make it 15. Minnesota struggling, fighting to try to get on through. The unfortunate team nade, though, comes through from Ultra, and Minnesota take advantage. Insight says a prayer, finds a crack inside of the shed and lets it go. Back and forth, we've got it. As Minnesota hold it for the time, Toronto, they're looking for the break.
And both of these teams can't win in here, but look at the play coming in from Bance. As Cleanix eliminates that player from the point, Bance is going to be that cutoff man to at least locate these players that are pushed out, and that's a beautiful play coming in from Bance. He influences the spawns to now spawn all the way towards tower, and this is going to be Toronto Ultra's first map.
It will be Toronto locking up game number 1. What a matchup that it was throughout. I don't know what the biggest lead was, but it couldn't have been over 25 points. A back and forth game throughout. As Marky B makes his way in from the back and gonna give his boys a well-deserved high five, because they deserve it, man. Take it down to this Minnesota team who has been so hot in these opening hard points, who has been so solid just in general in the respawns. They do not grab this opening bocage, and really, Jay, you were talking about it coming into this series, how important this was specifically for Toronto. Catch some momentum, win in hard point, right? Get a respawn under your belt. They've done exactly that here.
That's good work from Toronto Ultra. The way that this game